Hi, welcome back to True Crime Sages. I'm Tina Cummins.
I'm Belinda Powers.
Tonight we're going to be discussing the recent transcripts that have come out on YouTube by some very intelligent people. Several different people who have posted and or read the transcripts of Kegan Kline. We're going to be talking about that. So, how you doing tonight, Belinda?
Oh, I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Turn this, adjust this just a little bit. There we go. So yeah, some interesting things that the public now knows about Kegan Klein and his police interviews. I think I can speak for both of us when I say that you and I, if you look back through our videos, we're pretty on target with how this thing is playing out. For those of you who are unaware, we're going to post a link below to several different people who have posted the transcripts and actually taken the time to read them. But Kegan Kline had a long history of child pornography and procuring images from children. Let me preface this by saying all persons are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. We're going to discuss what he revealed. What did you think about the revelations that came out of his mouth?
To put it in words?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think we basically, in our last video that we did, we covered everything basically that we believed was going on with the Delphi homicides, and we were right. It's not a bragging point, it's just,
Yeah, we're not trying to
brag. We're saying that, you know, educationally, we've seen this before. Now, where do we go from here? So Kegan Kline basically was caught texting Liberty German, and he was grooming her. He'd invited her to come out the day she was murdered, and it's been revealed through the internet that he actually made a threat to kill her. Yeah. So in regard to that, you know, they know he had contact with her. They know he had contact with many other girls, generally as young as 12, according to him. Now the police say younger. But what can we add to this? I mean, they're going to have to take, the viewers are going to have to take the time to listen to the other interviews, but what can we add to this short conversation to sum it up?
I think that law enforcement had their hands full.
Yeah.
Going at this.
Yeah. And that was one of our pet peeves, is people keep saying cops don't know what the hell they're doing. They, you know, they're making mistakes. They, you know, they let this killer walk free. Like we said before, this man couldn't take a crap or fart without the police knowing it. And they didn't exactly let him go free, even though they put someone else on the case. They didn't arrest him at the time, and Belinda and I had discussed that, and what we had said back then was we believed the police were trying to do a sweep. And as it turned out, that's exactly what happened. Now, the question then becomes, okay, so if he took video, did he download the video to his Dropbox, and who all obtained those images, and whether or not someone else was involved? In the transcript, you know, the police are going at Kegan pretty hard. And he lies so many times, and he gets caught in so many lies. Do you want to add to that, anything to that, Belinda?
Oh, it's just overwhelming with the lies. He wanted to actually, they had to actually point out, you said this on this day, here's the proof. And then he'd say, oh, right. He wasn't going to give them anything that they didn't have.
Right.
He wasn't willingly giving them anything.
Now,
It was show me. He wanted to see their hand.
yeah.
Show me what you got, and then we'll talk.
And even then, in terms of serial killers, let me just say this. He checks every box.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's guilty. I am saying his behaviors check every single box for a sexual serial predator. If you know anything about him at all, in the video, he talks about wanting to see John Benet Ramsey's abdomen when she's deceased. He had 4 or 5 phones going at a time when he was looking at child pornography, looking at, you know, trying to get these girls to send him pictures and all this stuff. So what a lot of people are unaware is a predator, a sexual predator, spends about 90 to 95% of their waking hours fantasizing about sex with minors, sex with, you know, their victims, adult, minor, whatever. If they're a sexual predator, they spend 90 to 95% of their waking hours thinking about it.
I believe the detectives said that. From the time he wakes up, time he goes to bed.
He wakes up to the time he goes to
In
bed, he's on
between.
the phone, and he's
Yeah.
looking up images.
Yeah.
He's looking up information. He made some statements that he should have left and stayed in Vegas, and he should have went back to Vegas. And he was planning on going back to Vegas after his dad was asleep. And then he said, basically, he's fucked. Well, if he had nothing to do with it, why would he make that statement, first of all? So there's a lot of information that points to Kegan Kline as a probable, and I say probable, sexual serial predator / killer. That's my opinion. Let me just finish that by saying that's my opinion of him. But when it comes to that kind of thing, again, he checks every box. He checks, you know, age, behaviors, you know, what is he into? What does he do? All these things. That's, I mean,
No, it took hours to just comprehend all that was going on.
there's a lot. And one of the things, you know, that he did in the interview that really sparked my interest was he put himself in a scenario as the killer several times. Of course, he denied it. I mean, why wouldn't he? He could be facing capital charges.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's the question of the DNA. You know, he's like, here, take my DNA, take my DNA. So in the interview, they talk about, you know, friends 1 and 2, and we're going to call them thing 1 and thing 2 for the purpose of this video. So thing 1, he insists that thing 1 had access to his phone, and they tell Kegan, well, you know, it couldn't be thing 1 because thing 1 didn't have your phone 24/7, and this was going on 24/7. So he does a lot of backtracking. Then there's the other friend, thing 2. He says, oh, I'm not going to turn him in, you know, for dealing pounds of pot. And in the same breath, he's telling on him. So there becomes a question of, was Kegan Kline, if he, in fact, he is the Delphi killer, which I believe he is, was he in on it alone? And after you hear the transcripts and the police interviews and all the evidence and stuff that's come out, you have to ask yourself, was he in on it alone? Now, there's some things that Belinda and I question. First of all, police said that partially this was non-secular, meaning religious in nature. There's also some other aspects that have to do with the dark web and sharing of pornography. That leads us to some, you know, open questions. Now, Keegan talks about going back and forth to his father at Vegas. Were they taking film? We know the killer on the bridge had the cameras on. Did he set the girls up for someone else? You know, I'm pretty sure it was for his own sexual pleasure, disgusting as it is. Did he set them up for someone else? Was someone else out there with him? What do you think, Belinda?
I think we're all going to be shocked when it comes out.
Yeah. Do you think it's just him, or do you think it's one or more?
I don't think from the beginning we believed it was just one.
I don't believe it was just one. You know, in some of the messages that were leaked by friends to the public, you know, he's trying to talk girls into letting his friends gangbang this girl. And according to another friend, you know, this girl slept with him and his dad at the same time, according to what she recalled. You know, there's a lot of chomos in that area, I gotta say. One of the reasons that we were hesitant on even working on this case from the very beginning, but you know, again, that adds to more questions. So up to this point, what we have is we know Keegan Kline's involved. And even though his phone didn't ping at the bridge that day that we're aware of, he failed his polygraph. According to his own mouth, the police accused him of doing this.
Yeah.
And now, not specifically in these transcripts, the officer actually says, well, I believe you didn't kill him. Now, he could be lying to Keegan. But I don't know, still more questions. Were they taking this, you know, he went on the trip to Vegas, were they taking films and then trafficking them? Trafficking the films to make money off of snuff films. Belinda, you and I have talked about that before. You know, was this something where they did it for financial reasons? The police said power and control, so I'm thinking both.
Mm-hmm.
Both. Sexual fantasy, power and control fantasy. You know, they have the crime scene, so they would know. What are your thoughts on all of this new information that's come out?
At all, you know. I just look at the family and just we got questions, but they got lots of questions.
You know, they have all this information about him, and people are going to say, well, why haven't they charged him yet? Well, they did charge him. Right now he's facing 45 years.
Well, they haven't had his trial yet, so that tells you that they're waiting.
Right.
And they keep changing the date, so
I think
they're trying to put the pressure.
I think they're trying to put pressure on him to get him to reveal who was there with him. Who was in on it with him. Because they have,
I believe they have the evidence. I really do.
Yeah, they have the evidence to convict Keegan.
I believe,
who was
I believe they have the evidence, but they're just wanting to seal it completely. You know, make sure it's slam dunk. You know,
button it down. I think
Yeah.
the reason they're waiting is because they don't have his DNA, but they have someone's DNA, and they know who that someone is. And Who was that? Who all was out there with him? Was it one? Was it, we kept going back to the Holly Bobo case, where they set up Holly and grabbed her. From the very beginning, we talked about that. And you cannot have any kind of human element to be able to do what was done to these.
No, it's heinous. And to know
I mean,
that it was
basically,
planned, even if it was from 8 o'clock in the morning, it was planned.
oh, it's still premeditated. He was prepared.
Yeah, it's that's the sickening
It was
part,
it was premeditated.
Yeah.
Now we've had some questions about Evansdale. Is this someone trying to relive a fantasy? Was he paid to do this? But that doesn't change the facts that, statistically speaking, Keegan Klein fits the profile of a serial child predator / probable killer. I mean, this is close. He's like this. You can't
And
get
maybe that was even a mocking of,
right. Well, and then we have the other person that's mocking the investigation and mocking the police, and who put information out there in his picture. We're not going to mention his name, but he put information out there in those pictures about the Delphi homicide, and he thinks that people are stupid. Really? You live in the same neighborhood a block and a half away, and you think people don't know? Come on.
Yeah, why would someone want to shine the spotlight on themselves?
Right.
Sick individual.
I have to ask myself, who are his circle of people, his close people? Because we've already got one that's incarcerated for the rest of his life that was a block and a half away. Actually, his grandfather lived a block away. And then you've got another who's in the same vicinity. You can't tell me in a town of 5,000 people that they didn't hang out, especially being chomos. And in those specific pictures that person released, how did he know there was a ski mask? How did he know what type, if in fact a knife was used, what type?
Right.
How did he know there was a badge? I mean, come on. You're a block away, dude. You didn't know him.
And he showed that it wasn't stock photos. He actually put his own ID on the table. Here it is. This is my stuff.
This is
why. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why?
What was done? What was used? This non-secular person. Yeah. There's also the question of, okay, so Keegan had somebody talking about, setting up this one girl and asked if she would do a gangbang. You have to ask yourself, and I don't think that too many people would go along with them doing this unless it was for some heavy duty money, gang related.
Well, in the interview with law enforcement, the detective kept asking him about the Shots money account.
Yeah.
What was that? They didn't.
And who is he afraid of?
What that meant.
Right.
So there was some kind of a Anthony Shots money account.
And where was that money coming from? In the interview, he says, well, I don't want to turn on this friend. I mean, he's dealing a pound of weed. It's not the same as dealing an ounce. They're not going to come and search your house for an ounce. The police don't have anything better to do if they are. Yeah, he's an idiot. Definitely not the sharpest tool in the shed. But in the same breath, he's saying, I'm not going to turn in my friend, but yet he's telling the police right there. Dude's dealing a pound a month, pound a week, whatever. Come on. Is that his way of turning someone in without actually saying his name? I mean, a snitch is a snitch is a snitch. Is that his way?
Well, they had all the names. The names were
Oh,
just
sure.
redacted for us, so they have the names.
Exactly. You know, and then you have to ask why the other person hacked into Liberty's account. You know?
I mean, we know there's mental illness there, but
Yeah.
still,
Yeah. And there's still some other people that, you know, are still on the table, but Kegan Kline's definitely, you know, he's, like I said, if you had a list of what a sexual serial predator, he checks every box. If you
yeah,
add
he's
up all
definitely
the
a monster.
checks every box. And that's, you know, a lot of that's learned behavior. How much do I want to delve into that topic? You know, I'm not accusing specifically anybody except him of being involved in this, but that's learned behavior, you know.
And law enforcement themselves said they don't believe that he's the killer, but they believed he was behind it. So
did he set,
they're not going to say that unless
did he set them up for someone else? But they could obviously lie to him as well, because if
they could,
said, you know, if they would have said, you know, he said he was going to lawyer up once when they started accusing him. So as soon as the cops said, you know, that he didn't believe he was a killer, then he relaxed and he kept talking. So that could have just been a tactic that they used to, you know, keep him doing this so they could get him on record, because he agreed openly to continue talking to them after they took that off the table. Anyway.
Well, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely, if you're been watching the case, definitely go and read the transcripts or listen to them. They did an amazing job on them.
They did. They did. The detectives who were interviewing him, they had him nailed.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting out of it. He's not getting out of this. He's probably going to end up dying in prison. That said, he's definitely involved in their homicides. The question now becomes, was he singular or did he act in conjunction with someone else? You know, here's something interesting. If somebody can find photos of Kegan Kline back in 2017, I'm curious to know if he was thinner then, because
he was.
His body type now certainly doesn't match,
no,
you know, Bridge guy.
No, it showed the picture of him and his dad in Vegas. He was a lot thinner.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Was that the one with his dad's got his arm around him? Yeah. I didn't know that was actually the one from Vegas. Okay.
Yeah, it shows he was a lot thinner.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Don't even look like the same person.
I mean, he claims, Keegan claimed that his own dad, you know, took him to a chicken ranch out there, or a bunny ranch, whatever you want to call it. If that's true, then his dad certainly has no qualms about paying for sex. So there's some questions there as well. You know, was he on the other phone? I don't think so.
Law enforcement seems to think so.
Law enforcement thinks that it was either, well, I can't speak for law enforcement.
I can't either. I was going to say that.
I can't speak for what they're thinking. Okay.
But they're questioning. Their line of questioning sure look that way.
Someone else was in that house at the same time on a separate device that belonged to him. Now he's saying his dad didn't have the passwords, and it could have been this other person thing too. At the time of the homicides, though, his phone was pinged on Country Club Road in Peru. That doesn't mean anything. He could have left his phone somewhere. You know, it's like Jodi Arias. She thought she planned a perfect murder when she killed Travis Alexander, and you know, there is no such thing. Anyway, did he work alone, or did he work in conjunction with somebody else? And what it looks like at this point was that there was more than one involved. Now, what's interesting is back in during our psychic readings, you know, you want to go there, Belinda?
Not really.
Not really. Okay. Well, a friend of ours,
You can.
was saying, you know, MS-13. I'm like, this isn't MS-13. This seems more like Juggalo type situation. And if there's gang involvement, you know, and this was not just for their own depravity, but to make money, you know.
Yeah, there's so much.
We covered a
sick-
lot of that in our last video. If you want to watch
so much sick stuff out there.
our live video, we talk a lot about what we believed was happening, and as it turns out, that's exactly what was happening.
And if we ever want to be wrong, is when children are involved.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, sadly, there's no going back. You can't. There are things that people do that you can't take back, and this is one of them. You know, this is one of them. Now, Klein tried to erase his phones. He, you know, deleted his Instagram. He deleted Snapchat and Meet and all these different apps that he was using. But that didn't stop police from being able to get him.
Yeah, they subpoenaed him, and
Yeah.
that's where all the proof came from.
He also talked Libby into doing a factory reset on her phone. But that didn't stop them from being able to procure information from her devices.
Yeah.
So they, you know, have the chats between him and Liberty as Anthony Shots, and he had been grooming her for months. And the statement he made, which was really, you know, terrifying, was he, as Anthony Shots, talked her into going out to the bridge, said, "You want to meet me?" She says, "Why?" "So you can rape me." He says, "Well, I could kill you." I mean, that's, if
Yeah,
that's not telling, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
If that's not telling, I don't know what is. You know, him and his 4 or 5 phones, you know, constantly searching up. I mean, he searched up the Columbine victims. He wanted to see their bodies.
Yeah, it's not something you just come right off the top of your head. It's a thought that you've been thinking about.
No, he's definitely thinking about killing. And when he wanted to search up John Bonet, or he did not want to, he actually did search up Columbine, and he searched up John Bonet Ramsey, wanted to see her deceased bodies and her abdomen in particular. Why did he want to see her abdomen? You know, that's a paraphilia. That's him focusing in on a specific body part and objectifying and all kinds of psychological crap. You know, that tells a lot about who he is in his secret life. You know, there's the public life, there's the family life, and then there's the secret life of these killers. And if you listen to his interview, you know, a lot of tells there. So I would stake.
Yeah, and he actually got excited. It seemed like in his voice, excitement when when they spoke of him as Anthony Shots.
Well, I mean, that was them portraying him. That wasn't his actual voice, but in his words and his phrasing.
Well, that's what I mean. You could tell. Yeah,
his
you could tell by
words
the
and
things
his
that he
phrasing,
said.
you know, it's kind of like, okay, this is going to sound really gross and not for children's ears, but you know, when they were interviewing Samuel Little, for example, he was sexually aroused. And you know, you have to wonder, was this what's going on with Kegan Kline when he's talking about all these photos, all these images, all these things, you know, what specifically was he doing? I'm sure the interviewers made a note of these things, but yeah. I'm curious, where is his mother in all this? Does anybody know what happened to his mother? You
I
know,
haven't heard
she's
anything.
still in Colorado. Where is she at?
I don't know. I know that he's been with the dad for years, so.
Yeah.
Dad raised him, so I don't know.
You know, is there some resentment there? I know that there was supposed to be shared custody when he was a kid, and you know, he was going back and forth from Colorado to Indiana. I mean, what was the situation there? You know, because again, it's predatory behavior. A lot of this is learned behavior. Yeah.
But, you know, stuff's came out about the dad's past, so. I
Right.
think he's kind of,
A violent man. Very violent, demanding, demeaning. So, you know, a lot more questions now. I mean, I think that Keegan Klein is your guy, but I don't think he was there by himself.
I think you can breathe easier just knowing that.
Knowing that he's incarcerated and he's not getting out.
Yeah.
One more child killer.
Yeah.
Or potential, well, I can't say child killer because nothing's been proven. He's innocent until proven guilty. One more potential child killer off the streets.
Mm-hmm.
One more child predator, one more chomo off the streets. It's very, very frightening to know how many of them are in that one small area, that one small town. Again,
That's why I was saying that I think everybody will be shocked because so many arrests are going to be coming. Maybe not tied to this case, but because of this case. So
yeah,
just made them look into them a little more.
right. Well, like I said, everybody was saying, well, they let him go free until August 2020. You know, I guarantee you that there were a lot more arrests because they sat on that information, but I guarantee you as well that he couldn't breathe without them knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't do anything without them knowing it.
Well, and it made the case stronger too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They weren't going to let him hurt anybody else. They weren't going to let him meet up with anybody.
No.
And like, I mean, he even said in his interview with law enforcement, you know, he had a girlfriend until she found out that they raided his house back in 2017. It was February 25th, 2017. They raided his house, and his girlfriend, he said she moved away, never spoke to him again. So, yeah. The secret life isn't a secret anymore. And the scary thing is, you know, you have to wonder how many people were in that Dropbox, were getting those videos or video images, whatever that he was downloading and sharing and or selling.
No, I definitely say selling.
Yeah. Sad to say, you know, but
Yeah.
Will we ever know how far this investigation goes? Will we ever know the full scope of it? No. No. Mm-mm.
Well, I mean, you know, the majority of evidence never makes it to court, so.
Right. And how many child molesters are going to be off the streets now because Liberty had the wherewithal to take that video and to throw the phone, and
She's a hero.
she did. She's definitely a hero. Abby's a hero. You know, their friend who took that image of Abby and just saved it, you know, you know, why would a kid save a picture of their friend? She liked the picture, so she saved it. And good for them. Because once this is all over, you know, there's going to be a lot of child predators incarcerated. If it were up to me, they'd throw them all on an island and just drop a little bit of food to them every month and let them just fight over it.
And a lot, they're not gonna get slaps on the wrist either. So,
I think they ought to do, you know, predators like this who target kids. I think they ought to stick them all on an island and just, you know, bring a helicopter over
be
with a
nice, Tina.
big drop and just drop the food and let them fight to the death for it. You know, wouldn't bother me in the slightest. I know I'm not supposed to be like that as a Christian and a follower of Christ. I'm not supposed to be like, I can't help it. I can't stand them. May they all rot in hell.
And they're hurting innocent children, and
We're supposed to pray for sinners. You know, the sad thing is about these child predators, and we talk about this a lot, they don't realize what they're condemning themselves to. They have no clue. Having seen the other side, I know there's a heaven, I know there's a hell, and eternal fire. I mean, I think about myself, you know, you burn yourself on the stove when you're cooking or something. It's like, ow, 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 you know, you hate it. But eternal flame, if that's not terrifying, what is? These people have no beliefs whatsoever. Doug Carter was talking about the movie The Shack and how God forgives you. No, you have to ask for forgiveness. You have to want forgiveness. You have to feel sorry, truly sorry in your heart of hearts for what you've done, and you have to repent. Well,
yeah, and turn away from it.
And turn away from it. Kegan Kline sitting there lying through his teeth, you know, 500 times. I mean, he has no remorse.
Right.
He does not realize what he's condemning himself to on the other side. No clue. No.
I mean, I'm glad that it was leaked out. At least,
yeah,
you know, everybody will be able to see that there is stuff going on. It's not.
And stop, for the love of God, stop saying the police don't know what the hell they're doing. Stop saying that they let a child predator go. These people put their lives on the line every single day. They put their hearts and souls into their job.
Yeah.
You know, so please stop saying. Now, I'm not saying that all cops are good cops. There's some really dirty cops out there.
Well,
That said,
dirty people in general. It doesn't matter what kind of job they do. It
doesn't matter what kind. You know, there's criminals in all walks of life.
Yeah, there's evil everywhere.
Yeah. But in saying that, you know, they're going to have all their ducks in a row because this is such a national case and everything. I mean, everything's going to have to be on point.
And like I said, it's such a heinous crime too. They don't want to mess up.
Well, and the other person too, which really disgusted me, whether or not he's involved or whether or not he's getting attention, talking about how to plant DNA and replace DNA and looking it up and all this horse shit. I mean, what kind of person thinks like that? You have to be really spun in the brain.
Yeah.
You know, are they trying to set somebody else up so they can get off? You know, was he coached? Was Klein coached?
I think it was too many times.
Coincidences?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
If it
don't-
was just a short period of time, I'd probably say maybe. But
Yeah. No, this was all premeditated.
Yeah.
This was all premeditated. The question remains, you know, if it's not his DNA, then who the hell's DNA is it? And we already know that he was sharing images.
yeah. Oh yeah, they made that clear in the
Pretty
beginning.
damn clear.
Yeah.
So was it images of the victims of homicide, or was it other images that he had procured from underage girls? You know,
I think he was probably doing everything.
everything.
He was dabbing in it all.
Yeah.
Because they definitely tied him to the dark web, and if you're in the dark web, buddy, you're doing some pretty graphic crap.
Well, and he said he was supposed to make a bunch of money off of this dope that he was supposed to get, you know, in Vegas, in California, and do this drop. I think he was supposed to make a bunch of money off of this video that he had taken.
And then since it got so much headlines, the deal didn't go through. Nobody wanted to get caught with it.
Exactly. They're like, nope, see you, bye. We're not going to give you your money. We're out.
Yeah, it hit national headline, no way.
Yeah, because it was such a small town. It wasn't like a big city like Chicago. It was, you know, rural America. And it
I mean,
hit
but you'd have to
national
be an idiot
news, so
to know that 2 girls got killed and that's not going to make national. I mean,
right. So if they're paying him to go out and do this, I mean, for him, it's not even a leap because of his personality and his being so into child pornography, necrophilia, and all kinds of crap, you know, objectifying body parts. And I mean, it's not even a leap for him to commit murder. In our last video, you know, I talk a lot about, you know, why we believed from the very beginning that it was a serial predator. You know, if you go back and watch the video, you'll see that, I mean, every box, check, 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 check. And for the public, I'm not going to go into all of that statistic stuff, but yeah.
Mm.
I mean, the girls are gone. They're never going to come back, which is sad, but they are on the other side in a better place.
and I'm going to say sad reality, you know, we're all going to go through it not in the same manner that they did, and
Yeah.
but it's something that we're all going to do.
And you know,
sad.
the thing I hate about child killers, child predators the most is that children are the very fabric of innocence and peace that we have. And they want to destroy it. And they're so cowardly. You know, they don't go after grown men. You know, it's always the weak.
I was just going to say
It's
that.
always the weak. They find the weakest.
Yeah.
They don't go after, you know, people that they think are bigger than them or stronger than them, or no, they go after the weak. And they say, Abby and Libby, they say Libby fought like hell. Well, good for her, because at least she took a piece of the son of a bitch that did it with her.
Yeah.
Sorry about my language, but that's how I feel. Rope is cheap and reusable. Forgive me for saying that. I'm sorry, Lord, forgive me, please. I struggle with my anger over this shit.
Well, it's kind of hard not to. You know, it really is.
I would never want to be incarcerated in my life. And, you know, I wouldn't do anything to put myself in that situation. But if I were ever incarcerated, God forbid they ever put me in a cell with a child molester, because I would be plotting and planning. That's a fact. I hate him. And I don't ever want to. I don't know. I digress. I struggle with it. Because if it were up to me, they wouldn't exist. Not my plan. This is God's world and his plan.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what do you think about all of this information that's now out? It's now public.
Well, I'm glad it's public. I'm glad finally it's out.
Yeah.
I'm glad it leaked. Law enforcement didn't want to leak it, of course, because it could hurt the case, but
I don't
know that it's, yeah, well, if they leaked it, it could, you know, they prosecutors
leaked it, it
used
could.
against it. Yeah. But since
But
it was leaked,
being that somebody had to fight to get the transcripts, you know, good for them. Because
yeah.
Freedom of Information Act goes a long way, I guess.
I mean, the ones that's actually looking into the case and trying to, it gives more questions, but at least it does give answers to those that.
And it all boils down to, if it's not his DNA, then he was out there with somebody else. Who the hell was there with him? Was it one? Was it two? Was it three? Was it his gang? You know, was he doing a snuff film like we had talked about before?
I mean, just my opinion, looking at Bridge Guy, I don't think it's Keegan Klein. Just by looking at the Bridge Guy and looking at him walk across, I mean, that quick 0 point whatever 2 seconds.
I mean, and the public's talking about other people that were involved, you know, like let's say AK and JP and others in the neighborhood. His roommate, thing one and thing two.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
And, you know, we brought
up, look at just the ones that's been arrested.
Yeah.
And the heinous crimes that they've done.
Well, and that's the thing, we don't know who all has been arrested for getting into.
No, I'm just talking Brian, you know, Chadwell. I can't even look at him.
I mean, yeah.
Look at Garrett Kurtz. I mean,
the thing that strikes me though is they, you know, he was talking about in the transcripts, he's talking about how this one specific person had military background and no criminal record. Ding, 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 ding. Didn't the police say, oh, he never been arrested before? Well, his pops was arrested before many times and was in the system.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are saying it's pops, and I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying the police said he's never been arrested before. He's not in the system.
Again, it wouldn't surprise me if he was right there with him.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either. Looking at the past arrest record and behaviors, that wouldn't shock me in the least.
Yeah.
I mean, who the hell takes their own kid to a chicken ranch?
If they came back and said there was 2 or 5 or 10, it wouldn't surprise us. I mean, you know.
I hope to God not.
I hope, yeah, I hope to God not to. That's just a scary thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thing is, we know where they're at now.
Yeah. I mean, they're buried and they're at peace, you know. But I really want their families to have justice for them.
Yeah, you know, we really watch what we try and watch what we say, because we don't want to hurt the families no more than they're already hurting. You know, no pouring salt in the wounds. I mean,
We don't want to.
I really try and watch what I say.
Sometimes I have slip of the mouth.
Well, I'm sure they agree with you when you say rope is cheap and reusable. I mean, come on. That's totally different than saying anything that's disrespectful to to Abby and Libby,
You know,
or to the family.
vengeance is God's.
At no point they were victims, at completely 100% victims. They didn't do this to themselves just because they contacted him. You know,
and
I don't know where I was going with that, but
well, and it's interesting, because psychically we read, it's by happenstance, how many people did he ask to go out there that day? How many people?
man, seems like multiple compared to,
Yeah. Seems like he had tried to coax multiple people into going out there that day, and they happened to be the ones that showed up. So it was by happenstance, but it was also premeditated.
Right.
My question is, what did the lay of the land look like before and after? What did it look like before? And what did it look like after?
Well, and
I'm not saying the specific area of homicide. I'm saying on the side of the bridge where the victims were not. If anybody's got photos or anything, you might want to publish them. If you were out there a day or two or three or a week beforehand, where actually Libby was standing, if you got any kind of video of the land around there, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I want to know. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that, if you have it, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure law enforcement either wants it if they don't have it.
Well, I mean, even if you ping in the area, I'm sure they went through your phones. Just being in the area, they're going to ping, snatch, ping, snatch. People don't realize what a vast investigation this has been. They don't get it.
Yeah. Sometimes these takes many, many years. Some of them never get solved.
Right.
Some of them, they have no clue on what happened. They don't even have a direction to go in. And thank God with the picture of him and the voice, they had somewhere to go.
That's right.
They had something.
That's right.
They had an idea of what happened.
Well, I think now the public kind of knows that, it may be just him out there, but the odds are against it. And, the question.
Yeah, because if they wouldn't have had that video, just think about it. If they wouldn't have had the video, it would have been very easy that you would assume that maybe the girls went for a little hike in the woods or went by the wood line, and maybe somebody was in there and just so happened to, they saw something. But seeing that of them on the bridge, they knew that he was there for that purpose.
Exactly.
And it, led them in the direction to know exactly what happened.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the very first thing we talked about once we got the video, and that was after we were asked to work on it and did our psychic readings, and it just confirmed everything we were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he's in jail. And I'm glad he's not going to get out. And I can say that with full confidence. He's not getting out.
No,
He's not going to get
no.
out. And I think what they're trying to do now, they keep postponing because they want to put pressure on him to get him to roll over. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a pact, a bond, or, you know, he's claiming ownership. I don't know why. He knows he's had, and he knows he's going away. You know, I mean, at this point, it could only benefit him if he was not the actual murderer, unless he was complicit, which he was. You know,
Right.
so there go, you know, or ergo, you know, he's afraid of a capital charge. Otherwise, he'd already opened his mouth. Wherever he goes, whatever prison he goes, he better hope he's kept in ISO. Yeah. Better in Indiana than it is here. I can tell you that. He wouldn't last 2 weeks in here.
I don't know. Let's see. I don't think he'll last anywhere he goes.
No. No. Somebody's going to Jeffrey Dahmer his ass.
I would always go back to Jeffrey Dahmer or Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, either one. They'll either suicide him or, you know, that's what the big debate in my
Or
family.
let him suicide himself.
Should we send Jeffrey Dahmer's should we send should we give Jeffrey Dahmer's killer a death sentence or a Christmas ham?
Justifiable in my eyes. I'm sorry.
One, do they get? Do they get a death sentence for killing a child predator, a serial predator? Or do we send them a Christmas ham?
Yeah, they didn't for Jeffrey Dahmer.
No. He was already
didn't
serving a
charge him.
life sentence. He didn't have anything to lose, so he offed him.
Yeah,
Good for him.
yeah. They said it was justifiable.
Oh, yeah. What are they going to do? Give him another life sentence? I'm not trying to be facetious or sarcastic when I say that. I'm actually, you know, that's a hell of a debate. You know, what do you do with somebody like that? I don't have feelings of loss when it comes to a serial killer being killed in prison.
No, how can you? I go back to the victims. They're not the victim.
No. Anyway, so if you get a chance, if you get an opportunity to watch the videos, again, we're going to put the links down in the bottom, but if you get a chance to watch the videos of the transcripts, it's very eye-opening. And again, if you want to go back and check out our last live video that we did, you know, we discussed all this before they ever brought out the transcripts. I mean, sadly, it is what it is.
It is. It's a sad day no matter what.
I hope and pray that the Father in heaven sees what's going on and he allows law enforcement to get every last one of them. Move them out of the way.
Yeah.
Put them all in a cell and give them all the Delta variant. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say things like that. Justice is yours, Lord, not mine. Sorry.
I mean, we're human. You know, and it angers us.
Yeah.
If it didn't make me angry at moments when you think about things, I'd say I wasn't human.
You know, you got to give it to the cops, how they maintain their integrity.
Yeah, I don't know how.
In the room with these animals.
I don't know how.
I don't know how they
I
do.
couldn't, I guess that's why,
You see,
everybody has their job that
that'd
they're
be
great at.
me. That'd be me as an investigator in a room. Let's just say this. You put me in a room with a serial predator. You watch that movie, There's Something About Mary. When I shouldn't laugh at this, but when was it Adam Sandler? Anyway, so he gets caught and he gets taken to prison and they think he's, the serial killer that's on the highway. And the cop that's in there, he just loses his shit and starts bashing his face into the table. That would be me. That would be me. Let me
Yeah.
just find the closest ball bat. Wham. But you can't do that. Yeah, there's a reason why I don't do interviews like that.
Yeah, you have a hard time containing yourself.
Well, and then you have to look at it, seriously,
Innocent
in all
until proven
reality,
guilty.
is it nurture versus nature? I mean, what creates creatures like this? And it is learned behavior. So in looking at that from a medical perspective, he was created not by God, but by his environment.
Right.
He was created by his environment. Had he grown up in, an open, loving, normal home, chances are this wouldn't happen. I mean, in like 90% of cases of killers, there's violence in the home. Or there's, an overbearing, atrocious parent. So there's that aspect of it. I guess if you're going to look for empathy, towards a crazy psychopath, that would be the avenue for it. All right. Well, I think we've about covered everything. Is there anything we're missing? How many victims did he really have?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe this was his first time. He had, according to the police, hundreds of images that he procured. That doesn't even include any devices they don't know about. And
all the ones that was deleted.
yeah, they don't know what was deleted. They have, there's so much lost information.
Oh my gosh.
All right. We're going to wrap it up for tonight. Yeah, if there's any new information that comes out, Belinda and I will give you guys an update. So thank you for joining us. And thank you, Belinda. We'll see you next time. Praying for justice for Abby and Libby and whomever else has been victimized. Take care. Good night.
Good night.